Hi, my name is Nthati Phakoe and welcome to Khaya TV. Khaya TV, inspiring youth.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Khaya Wellness Show. Your host as usual is Nthati Phakoe. Remember that on the Khaya Wellness Show we talk about a host of issues. We cover holistic well-being, social, physical, mental and emotional. And as usual today on the show we have an inspirational guest with us. Her name is Maleah Sakoane from Maleah Foundation. Maleah, welcome to the Khaya Wellness Show.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm very encouraged. I'm feeling a bit somehow, but now you said I'm inspirational. So I am hoping that I am here to inspire our viewers, in particular the young adolescent girls who are at home based on the issue that we're going to speak to, but holistically women empowerment, because that's all what I'm about.
Yes, thank you. Talking about inspirational and you finding that inspirational is a befitting word, which just got you feeling better. I think this is you are what we should actually be referring to as an influencer to people. I know what social media regards as an influencer, but then I think intrinsically taking the word for what it is, an influencer is someone that should influence, ideally, proper lifestyle measures. So please do tell the viewer about Maleah Foundation and what is all about.
Okay, thank you so much, Nthati. So Maleah Foundation is a young woman empowerment organization. So what we do at the organization is that we empower young girls to be very assertive, to take up leadership roles, but most importantly in terms of their health and well-being, whereby we are very big on menstrual health and hygiene for the young girl. So Maleah Foundation is basically a hub of grooming the young girl in Lesotho, whereby they take up any opportunities that are open to them. We know that when it comes to young girls, they're usually very scared, timid to take up positions, to take up spaces. So at Maleah Foundation, we want to groom that young girl to be a very assertive individual and to also just believe in themselves, whereby they know that they can be what they want to be and aspire to be, that they shouldn't hold back in who they are, you know. So yes, that's what we stand for, basically young woman empowerment.
Okay. You mentioned something about menstrual health and menstrual hygiene, and I remember during one of the first time we met, when you used to host what you call on second Sunday, right? Which is where you would feed the homeless every second Sunday. When Maleah Foundation was in the pipelines, as it was starting.
Yeah.
What you mentioned something there. You talked about period poverty. What is period poverty?
So maybe before I go into what period poverty is, I think I need to give a bit of a background of why Maleah Foundation.
Yes.
I'm a very passionate person when it comes to issues that affect the girl child and women in particular, and also the youth in general, because in everything that we do at Maleah Foundation, we don't want to leave the boy child behind. So, and that's like me, that's just who I am, you know, just always looking at the issues around me that are affecting young people. So you mentioned second Sunday. Second Sunday is different from what we do at Maleah Foundation, because it's part of what we do. Second Sunday is our charity side at Maleah Foundation, where we started it during COVID-19, when we knew that everyone was like locked up in their houses. People didn't have, like, we were not going anywhere. But then imagine the person in the streets. Imagine the person who doesn't have anything to eat, and everyone is like locked up and we're like so close in our houses. Remember when it started, we even went to buy like, Pick and Pay was crazy. People were buying things, toilet paper off the shelves, food, everything. And now there were people who didn't have anything, and people who relied on just not going to ask for donations, but people who believed in other people giving them something.
But now even beg during that time because there was no one.
100%, yes. And then now we know there's one house in particular. It's called the White House, where less privileged people stayed. Ours particular, Yes, ShopRite.
Yes, I see.
So I was particularly interested in the girl child who are staying there, because then it meant they were more compromised. They were not able to go and fend for themselves because in as much as some of them are staying there, they go and do like your piece jobs. They go and wash just so they have something. They have their reasons for leaving their homes because most of them are also not from Maseru. They're from the rurals of the rurals. So they have their reasons for leaving their home. So and then now we just felt second Sunday, every second Sunday would cook and then would go and take pads for them, like dignity packets, because at the end of the day, it's about giving a dignified life to the girl child. It doesn't matter that they're on the streets or they're not on the streets, hence second Sunday. And I'm sure when we met now, we were doing our second Sunday together with the homeless people because it was an annual thing that we used to do for them. And then obviously as you interact with those girls, then you start finding out there's other deeper issues, Now this is the second part of Maleah Foundation. Background wise, I'm a researcher as well. So when you introduced me, you mentioned that I'm Zandile Winile, Maleah Sakoane. I'm from Swaziland.
But to say Pindile.
Yes.
So many Elias.
So I'm from Swaziland, but so I've been here forever and ever. So when I first got here, I sat down and I studied my environment, and because now I'm very passionate about the girl child, started interacting with the girls around me, trying to find out what their issues are. And one of the issues that came out was the whole poverty thing. We don't have money, we don't have work. But then now when you're thinking of poverty, then there's necessities that every girl needs. As long as you at menarche age, where now you start having your period, things that you can't compromise on. So for an example, your pads, when you go on your periods, we don't have those things. We don't even have money to go and buy pads for ourselves, So it started off with those conversations, and being the academia that I am as well, I had just moved to Lesotho, I wasn't doing anything, and I was bored. And I'm like, I need to go to university to study this phenomenon, And then I went back to school 2021, I was at NUL. I'm like, what is this thing and how is it affecting the girl child not having pads, So I did a very comprehensive study when it comes to period poverty, and I chose Mohotlong because Mohotlong is a rural area. We're speaking period poverty right now. I always say to people when we refer to the term, let's start with the first word, which is poverty. So they're now looking at a rural setup where I can go to and study this phenomenon that is affecting the girl child. So hence then now when you speak of Maleah Foundation, you're speaking of period advocates, you're speaking of people who we call ourselves the period ambassadors, because again, when you speak about menstruation, the period part of it, it's just not any period, but we're speaking about menstruation. So people are usually shy to speak about it. If we were here in a room full of men, you would literally see the men facing down. And then also our sisters as well, because this is not a topic that we talk about every day. Yes. So at the end of the day, I was just very curious about it to say, how does it affect the girl child? How does it affect women in general? Especially because we are even scared to talk about it. Then the question becomes, can we even lobby for period poverty in Parliament? If we are shy to talk about it, if it's still a taboo, and if we can't lobby for it in Parliament, can we budget for it? Because now we're saying it affects the girl child, it affects women in so many ways.
What would this period poverty be so that our viewer is in line with us?
So I want to believe you still go on your period. So I
am looking to reduce menopause.
So I want you, and also for the viewers at home, right? When we speak about period poverty, I want you to think of all the things that you need when you're on your period.
Pads,
so you have a comfortable period. Okay, pads, panties,
painkillers, period pains. Probably panty liners. I need a fresh towel. Clean towel. I need soap.
Yeah.
I would need
Okay.
There's an array of things. Chocolate.
Chocolate is a luxury, but yes, it's necessary during our period. So yes, all those things you've listed, and viewers back at home, it might be more for you. It might be more for me. It might be less for you with what you've counted. But period poverty is the lack of all those things that you've counted. Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to have a safe period. You're supposed to have a dignified period. So that means you're supposed to be comfortable when you're on your period. If having chocolates makes you comfortable, then you should have chocolates, But at the end of the day, when we speak about period poverty, we're speaking about you lacking all those things that is going to, make your period dignified. And you spoke about tampons, the pads, that's the period product. You spoke about towels. Clean towels. Clean towels come in terms of making sure that you are able to wash, you are able to bath. And that is where
soap with it or
soap, 100%. Those are the products, but then also washing, to having the proper facilities to be able to go and change, to be able to go and bath, and proper panties. And this is an inside joke for us at the foundation, because when we started off and we're doing those dignity packets, we used to put toothbrushes, because now we're also thinking the girl child needs to look good, needs to smell nice, and the towels. Until we got to Mohoshong, and we're like, no, we've been doing it wrong. We're supposed to put in panties in there. We're supposed to put in soap for them to bath and also to be able to wash their panties. But also looking at the infrastructure that we are supposed to have. We were doing our study in school, right? And then you go to the different schools in the rural areas. The toilets are not private. Imagine you, even when you're out and you're on your period, you are scared to be in the bathroom and change. There's actually even a joke that goes around Facebook to say, come out, you're not eating chips there, because you took your time and the paper is making noise, But now you're like shy because you're on your period. It's something that you really want to hide, right? So imagine that now you're in a school setup where now you have to go and change, you're on your period, but then you get to the toilets, and the toilets are not private. They are very open. And this is me speaking from a perspective of having gone to do a study on that. There's no privacy. You literally find the latrines and they're open and you're on your period. So at the end of the day, you're done doing your business. Let's say you're like me, you're not shy about such issues. You can change, you embrace being on your period, but then now there's no water for you to wash, because that's where the health and the hygiene comes in, where now you're able, again, the waste management, to be able to dispose of your pad. We don't have those things. And then the education side of it, because right now when we're speaking about period products as well, we're speaking about the alternatives that we have. We have so many alternatives besides disposable pads. We've got tampons, we've got cups, and now we've got the reusable pads. The education on how to use those products, we don't have. And also, how long are we supposed to have our pads? We don't have that knowledge. So then now that puts us at a risk, risk for having infections, for having your pad longer. If I don't know, if I don't have the products, I might use a wrong product. And best believe, we do. If you don't have, imagine if you're starting your period right now and you don't have any of those products, what are you going to use?
Using a product at all.
Tissue.
Yes.
It is paper. So it's all this. Yes, that's all. Yeah.
Talking about period poverty, we're going to go for the break just now. After the break, viewer, please stay with us. I want us to discuss the ramifications of period poverty and what actually is the link between period poverty and gender-based violence. Did you think there was one? Stay tuned.
We are Tiny Tots and you're on Khaya TV. Woo!
Hi, I'm Nthati Phakoe, and I have great news on how you can transform your business without breaking the bank. Are you ready to take your brand to the next level? Khaya TV Plus has revolutionized TV advertising for small businesses. Get your message in front of millions across Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other major streaming TV platforms. Khaya TV, inspiring youth.
Welcome back to the Khaya Wellness Show. Remember, we have on the show with us Maleah Sakoane from Maleah Foundation. And before the break, we've been discussing period poverty and the bare necessities for period. I really wish that I were on my period, and then I would say on television that I'm on my period, so as to try and break the stereotype and try to break the taboo around periods, because periods are quite healthy, they are natural, and if it weren't for periods, the bulk of us wouldn't be born. The human race is able to reproduce because the woman goes on a cycle, and therefore reproduction is able to happen. Maleah, before we went on the break, we've spoken about period poverty, and one of your flagship points, I know, to be GBV. You host annually the 16 days of activism against GBV, against the Yes, 16 days of
16 days of
activism,
activism.
you take very, 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 very highly. Now tell me, what consequences are there, or what happens in the case when a girl child isn't able to access these things? Let's say just your basics, pads. Because where I come from, in areas that I've visited, you find that some girls don't have enough for pads, and they get into relationships with people. They go out drinking under the guise of getting something, getting a savannah, but it's just so they can get 50 bucks. So she's got something for pads and for data and for. So what do you see to be the relationship between bad relationships and period poverty?
Yeah. I like emphasizing that the for lack of a better word, not root, yes, maybe root of period poverty is the poverty aspect of it. We're speaking about pads or having the necessities for me to have a comfortable period. Look at it as having water. We always say water is life. Having a period necessities every month for the girl child is life.
Yes.
So imagine that oxygen or that life being taken away from you, and you have to survive, you know. So it's all about survival for the girl child. I know that on the 3rd of July, I'm going to go on my period, because now what we do with our girls is that we also help them to track their periods. I'm sure you also know your days, you know.
I was going to say, I didn't read that. I never know.
It's very simple.
I know when I go
Unfortunately, I'm not wearing my menstrual bracelet. Is one of the advocacy tools that we use for advocacy to spark conversation, but also to help the girl child to count when the next period comes. But as I was saying, Tati, is that girls really need this every month. So imagine the anxiety. I know the show is also about mental health. When now you know your period is about to come, and you know you got to make a plan. So what is that plan? You know, then you get, and I deal with adolescent girls, and then there's a young man who's asking you out, and you know you've got this need that is coming out.
every month.
Aren't you going to go into a relationship with that man who's asking you out, or compromise yourself? So there's economic vulnerability in that, where now because you need the pads, then you'll find yourself compromising yourself, getting into transactional sex or relationships, because now you need to get a transaction. Now for you to be in a relationship with a certain person, now you know that they're going to give you money for you to be able to get your necessities, and we are saying that
which include
the pads, yes, every month. And this is a monthly thing. So you know, like in your plans, then it means like a girl who's vulnerable and doesn't have these things has to make a plan. But the saddest thing that I found in communities, in rural communities as well, is where now child-headed homesteads, with that child, even if they're working, they need to sort of like negotiate, should I buy thread for my family or should I buy pads? You know, so imagine like having a young child having to compromise on that, or just negotiate that with themselves. That will put them in a space of being vulnerable. That makes them to be dependable at the end of the day. They're still kids, but also there's the stigma around it. You're speaking of GBV. There's a stigma around it. If I don't have the products, it means I'm going to leak. It means I'm going to stain myself. And then now everyone is going to see, everyone is going to laugh. And now the shame, but the bullying, because at school now I'm going to be this person who stained themselves. I'm going to, because now I don't have the products and I'm using products that I'm not supposed to use. You know, I don't have the education on when to change, on when to bath. Now I'll be this child lonugabo. You know, so yes, so the bullying, you know, because then that's where GBV comes in. But you also mentioned that I'm very big on 16 days of activism and just letting the children run the campaigns, because that's what we're about at Maleah Foundation. All these issues that I'm talking about, the laughing, the bullying, how they experience GBV, these are issues that they tease out when we have our discussions, our dialogues with them. So most often at times as well is that you find that because the boy child is not educated enough in terms of what's happening to the girl child, they're the ones who bully the most in their classes. So what
because
we
they
do,
don't understand what they say.
they don't understand.
Nobody explains.
Yes, no one explains.
But then it's happening
100%, 100%. And Tati, because for me and you, our engagement is not only starting here now. I know you're very big on the boy child, and you've called me out on a number of times But the number of times like, why are you leaving the boy child behind in such conversations, Well, we did listen because in our last menstrual health and hygiene day celebration, we did have our bracelets that we were making, and we had the boys involved, and while we're making the bracelets as well, we're having conversations. So now the girls were telling their stories. What happens to them? Why do they feel like that? Best believe my victory, my definition of victory for that day was having the boy child coming up and saying, now when I see someone saying we're collecting pads, we're going to be part of it. We're actually going to start raising funds here. Now we understand what's happening. I thought that was the most beautiful thing ever. And then now you understand why we shouldn't leave the boy child behind, just so they understand. And for them not to even laugh what's happening. But also, there's social, I don't know what they call it on the social media things that I'm trying out with my students in one of the schools that we're working with, a social test, whereby I've seen when other countries are doing it on TikTok, and I'm going to share this after, but I've seen something on TikTok where it's very amazing how when they were doing this social test, and this woman was walking around with a stain because she's on a period. The men were the ones who were like quickly going to cover. Men had different reaction. And then the ladies, the social test for the ladies, were like looking like that. They were so embarrassed. They were not. And I was like, okay, we have a serious problem. Because now sometimes we'll think the men don't understand.
But it's the women.
Yes.
Because they would have thought, okay, shouldn't she by now know when her period is? How doesn't she know when her period is? This is sacred blood. Why is she always? Which means then we must still go back to re-educating ourselves as well.
So yes, re-education, 100%, sisters keep up, but also again, because when we speak about menstruation, it's something that we never spoke about comfortably.
Yes.
With our parents, with our girl child,
you got your period, now you're going to fall pregnant.
Yes, now you're going to fall pregnant, and it was something that we have to hide. So now we are embarrassed, when you start having these conversations in a room that has boys and girls. Best believe the boys will be the ones who are curious and asking questions until yes, and the girls are hiding, and then now you'll be saying, but guys, there's no way we're going to allow the boys to speak on our behalf. They don't understand what's happening, So now it goes back to the issue that I raised in the introduction to say, with the lack of us standing up for our issues. Who then is going to speak on the issue? Because it has to start with us. It means we have to not be embarrassed to talk about our periods or how we're feeling or what is going on when we're on our periods. So that re-education side also has to go back to that, where we go back to our corners as parents, as teachers, where we're not even shy to speak about menstruation because it's a natural thing.
Yes.
We actually have to prepare the girl child when they are young, because again now, it starts, what is the right time to tell them to talk about menstruation? At the foundation, we've been sitting and saying, maybe let's do it at a high school level, but now we realize they start at a young age.
They start the period in grade 5, grade 6.
100%. So why not start the conversation there? Why not start the conversation at home? We have a boot camp around June, July, and when we like to parents, bring a girl child so we can have the conversations that you guys are uncomfortable to have. And the parents are more than happy to do that.
Yes.
And that also tells you that they're still embarrassed because they were not able to talk to their parents about it. The teachers at school
could talk to their parents and their
yes. And the teachers at school as well, they say the same thing. They're like, you know what, this thing that you're doing, it's great, but honestly speaking, even me as an individual, I'm still scared to talk. Yes, So I think the re-socialization is very important for us as women. When now we start embracing this, I mean, we've been called out a number of times to say, why are you guys speaking about this thing? This thing is supposed to be sacred. This thing is, and we're like, yes, it is a sacred thing, but we need to embrace it, because with it being sacred as well, it has made girls to lose out on so many opportunities, and also for them to think this is a bad thing that's happening to them because of the misinformation. Again, the misinformation. You mentioned something like, now they'll be like, you'll fall pregnant. That's the misinformation. Imagine a 10-year-old starting a period. And then now the first thing she's seeing her blood, she's like, I
pregnant.
don't sleep with boys. What's happening? Now I'm pregnant. What's going on? You know, because again, as parents, as teachers, we're scared to talk to our girl child with this. Where do they get the information? From the peers.
Yes.
The peers are also using information that they got from their peers or their sisters, and then yes. So it's actually it's an issue that's very close to my heart that I can go on and on about.
As we wrap up, I'm thinking now, I'd had a different way that we're going to wrap up, but now that you're here, I'm thinking part of our audience is the same demographic that you're reaching out to. So what would you say to them? What would you say to our 12 to 18-year-olds who probably don't have a mother that's raising them, or who are uncomfortable having these conversations with their mother? What is the one thing that you, as a menstrual health advocate, would want to say to the girl child, whether it being what are periods, whether it being what misconceptions, whether you want to rebut a myth? What would you want to give to our viewer, considering that demographic? That presents.
So when I speak to the girl child, especially the 8 to 19 years old, or the 8 to 14, the ones who are still shy and the ones who don't have the information on what is happening with them, is one to say that having your period is a normal thing, you know, that happens to a woman, and that is your body telling you that you are healthy. Because at the end of the day, now when a child sees blood, they're thinking, I'm going to die. Where is this blood coming out from? You know, that is your body telling you that you are healthy and you are growing up. And then now with the older ones, this is where now you also introduce the reproductive side of it, to say it's because you can see your boobs are changing, and this is the change that's happening to you. This is telling you that when you are older and you are married, you'll be able to have babies. And that is at their level.
When you're older and you're married, be able to have babies.
Yes.
Not by virtue of getting married, you're going to.
Yes. When you are older, and obviously as they grow and with the different age groups, because now when I'm in the communities and now I'm dealing with 19 to 24 years old, the conversation, you know, is elevated to another level. But with basics, a 10-year-old to a 14-year-old is to say, embrace this. It's a beautiful thing that's happening to you, and it is your body telling you you are healthy. You are not going to die. You are very healthy. So,
Yes. There we got it. Thank you very much for joining us on today's episode. And please, Bundade out there, the boy child, everybody else, parents are healthy. They are as healthy as a heartbeat. They're as healthy as the eye blinking to keep itself wet. So let us just take care of ourselves there. If we know of organizations that are heavy on this project, funding, donating pads. If we know of the needy, approach our offices and find if we've got contacts for you, so we can help the girl child have a dignified period. Until next time, thank you.